Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the best host of the whole conference, me, not Ray. Want to welcome you for a very great session we're about to have. It's one of our sales and marketing tracks, but I first want to hand it over to one of our gold sponsors, Lifecycle Insight. Marnie Stockman is on. I'm a big fan of hers. I'm a big fan of all the ladies on this call, actually, which is crazy. It's like my best time I could possibly have. But Marnie, maybe give a little insight on what Lifecycle Insights does, and do your thing.
I'll do my thing. All right. So yeah, Sean is fancy for the call, Lauren, because he's got some high-powered speakers here. So I'll introduce them in a second. So first, I'm Marnie Stockman from Lifecycle Insights. So we started with my co-founder, Alex, who was struggling as an MSP to cobble together all of his reports for all of his asset reports. So we started Asset Lifecycle, which turned in reporting, which turned into QBR reports and an assessment platform that ties together the business pain along with the budget forecasting that you need. So that is what Lifecycle Insights does. So feel free to stop by and say hi if you're interested in that. But more important today, I get to introduce Heather K. Margolis, who is a busy woman who not just only sparks your channel, but is the channel maven as well. So she'll be speaking to you, as will Michelle Ragusa McBain, who has quite the meaty title. So let's see if I can do it without looking at my notes. VP of Global RATS Channel and Digital Strategy. So I'm excited to hear what they have to say. And of course, Sean will be participating, no doubt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty, for your sponsorship, and we'll see you soon. All right, let's get this rolling. Apparently,
Keith wants to know if you're getting married.
Well,
on Nantucket. I would add on Nantucket.
I don't understand what, yes. So, well, thank you, Heather, for already jumping in to strike the first blow. I appreciate that. So this session, well, first off, thank you, ladies, for joining. You guys.
And looking so fancy. It's all over our chat window. Everyone's so impressed. I think, Juan, you should give them the full 360 catwalk, though. It wouldn't
really?
be why me. Oh,
do everyone a favor. Kevin, if you're listening, we need some music.
Hold on. What's this session about? A remote access to a group?
This is what I like to call. This is our remote mullet. So business on top, party on the bottom.
So I'm like Tony Francisco. Awesome. So that is it.
Francisco has really skinny legs, though, so I don't think he wears shorts.
There's simply no way of telling. If there's a sombrero on it, he wears it. So thanks for your support, ladies. So yes, I'm ready for my wedding, or the 90s prom, as Kevin mentioned in the chat. So let's talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about, actually being professionals. We're here to talk about how you can actually have success in reaching a remote audience, which is the biggest topic right now, is how to generate interest, how to generate results, how to find leads, how to grow your business today. So you both of you are very in depth and enthralled in this world. You guys are constantly on social. You're constantly on doing outreach on emails. And you both have had experience in both live conferences and virtual conferences now. So let's start off with you, Michelle, real quick. Couple key points here. Some things you talked about and you posted and tagged me on Facebook, and is getting this outreach and staying involved. And you mentioned voyeurism, paying attention to your audience. So maybe a little bit about that first.
Absolutely. So, some people will call it ethical stalking. Some people call it social listening. But I think the most important thing for anyone that was traditionally a road warrior, that was in person and face-to-face, and now they've reboot, the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown over the past few months, and even now as businesses are starting to open back up or states are starting to open back up, they're not going to want a lot of strangers in their building. And there's a very methodological, very clear, slow unroll of letting people back into their worlds and ecosystems. But the problem is, for a lot of people, how do you stay engaged? How do you stay connected with the people that you're trying to prospect, sell to, market to, and be a part of their conversations? So I think for me, the most important thing is fishing where the fish are, right? Do you really know who your prospects and clients are? Do you know what groups they belong to or chat in, whether it's Facebook, or are they in Reddit, subreddits? Are they in Facebook groups or happy hours? Are they in LinkedIn groups? Are they on Twitter chats? And so there's many different places on social media that they might be engaging. There might be, in the tech channel alone, there's 155 conferences a year. Many of those were postponed or canceled or rescheduled well into the new year. And so you have to think there's a lot of these amazing virtual conferences, and I'm so happy that OITVOIP is having this, because it's so great to have free and educational information and networking for people to connect and engage. But you have to be there listening and participating, and not just posting on your wall, hoping that clients magically read what you have to say, but you have to be consciously going to where they hang out, listening to what their pain points are, and understanding how you can help them through these challenging times.
Absolutely. And to maybe carry on over to Heather, because it's part of your business approach, is all about the outreach. And if everybody hasn't seen her company Spark Your Channel, OITVOIP works with, and that's for helping our partners market better. So clearly that is one of your strong suits. And a little bit of what's your take on this?
Sure. And to your point, Spark Your Channel allows partners to customize content and then send that out. We're doing that differently than other platforms in that we want partners to leverage video. We want partners to have that authentic connection with prospects of theirs, or as they're getting to know someone, be able to have that 3-minute introduction where someone feels like they know them. Keith asked a really good question. Should I be dressing differently? I think Lauren said, dress up for video. I think be yourself. That's one thing that's come out of all of this in this pandemic. People are seeing your dogs, they're seeing your kids, they're seeing where you are and who you really are. I do think you want to act as if you were going into a face-to-face meeting. If that means you wear a logoed polo shirt, go for it. But I think being able to have that connection and have that 3-minute video with someone before they ever talk to you on a scheduled call is super important. So, before, if you're trying to prospect with somebody, if you're connecting with them on LinkedIn, maybe putting together a super quick video about why they should connect with you. They're going to feel like they know you. They're going to feel like they are making a decision as to whether or not they would get along with you and want to do business with you. And they're really thinking about what your offering is and if that can truly help them drive a difference for their business.
Absolutely. I would say probably to add to that is you got to dress in the way, in the manner in which you feel confident in presenting yourself, right? And Ray said it there, dress by how you want to be perceived. Yes, dead on, we're all working from home. I shot an interview the other day and my daughter walked right into the video and I was like, oh, there that goes. And so that it happens, right? It keeps on happening no matter what. Everybody, we know that we're in that. However, it's probably important. Thank you, Ray. I am a good looking guy. Thank you. I dress accordingly. So based off my audience and who I keep company with. So Ray, I'll wear my tank top with you guys. No, it's important to do it and be confident about it. But also people do know, like you said, Heather, and actually it's one of Michelle's key points too, is a personalization of things. This is all we have is this video right now.
Yeah.
And Lauren said it, about having the first chance to make a good impression, which he's dead on, but within reason. So, okay, so with that then, what are some tips maybe that we should focus on? What are some easy ones to you, Michelle?
Yeah, so I think some of the most important things that you can do, and I think Ray said it perfectly, is being authentic, right? So whether it's how you dress or how you engage or how you speak, one of the biggest pain points or triggers for me is when people go on social media, they act completely different than they would in real life. So I believe that social media is an extension of if you were face-to-face with a client, if you were at the hotel lobby bar after a conference, or you were on the golf course, it's a relationship, right? And the old adage is true. People buy from people they like. People work with people they like. So if you're remain true and authentic, that's a very powerful thing. But if you went online, you see most people, I say there's a spectrum, right? There's the I have social or I don't have social. And those people are missing out because by and large, the majority of people are on social media, and that's where these conversations are taking place. So if you're not there, your competitors are, and they're engaging in conversations with your prospects. The second is I set it up and I forget it. Like I don't really use it. I check it every 1 month or 3 months, but it's not really something they put a conscious effort to hone or grow. And that again is a waste of time. The next stage is what I would say is the voyeur. And I think that is critical. We talked about that a little earlier, which is you're listening, you're learning about somebody. You wouldn't go for a job interview or to meet a customer without knowing about their company. We're a society that researches before we even talk to anybody. So if you want to go to a restaurant, you're going to Yelp before you go to that restaurant. You're going to watch a movie. You're going to look at Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. So people are researching all the time, and you need those content on your wall. You need those white pages and brochures and bulletins and all that stuff. But then the next level that's kind of odd is that there's the lazy liker. And to me, that's the person that's really trying, but it's just not worth it, because at the end of the day, if you and I are at a conference and you say something really brilliant and we're standing on the cafeteria line with our little tray getting our food in that buffet, and would I ignore you? No. Would I say like and walk away? No, but that's what the majority of people do on social media, which is completely creepy to me. Or would you say it in conversation like we're having here? Like, I agree with that, or I disagree with that, or that's a good point. You know, you would engage with somebody, and yet you go on social media and you lose your mind and you don't engage with people. And so you have to be not only posting thoughtful content, but engaging with the people that are having the conversations. And there's no greater gift that you can give somebody than commenting or sharing or participating in the chat with them that allows them and you to get to know each other. Then it's not a cold call anymore. Now you're friends, right? And that's where you want to move the needle.
Absolutely. You gave me an idea where I think I'm going to walk around with one of those like thumbs up signs to like people's comments as in person, like when I talk to them. I think that'd be fantastic at a conference, and they're like, let's say this brilliant thing to me. I'm like, and just do that and walk away. It'll save me so much time. And I'll show my appreciation.
You'll have so many fans by the end of that conference.
I know. No, yeah, they'll be like, who's that not so nice person with a thumb? That's basically there'll be other words, I'm sure. So, okay, so Heather, coming back around to that, Michelle had touched on even research. I think one of the hardest things people have is understanding who they should be going after themselves. You know, who should be their audience.
Absolutely.
So how does somebody address? How do you address that?
I have used LinkedIn for my own demand generation for 12 years, and to me, LinkedIn is the first step in sort of building that relationship. There are a lot of people on this call today that I am also friends with on Facebook and also follow me on Twitter. That has evolved, right? Like Michelle and I are friends on Facebook. We both have 2 girls. We both have husbands who work. We both have crazy lives. We have so much in common that, to her point, when she says something, it is really resonating with me. That's sort of phase 3, I would say. Phase 1 is go onto LinkedIn, start looking at the types of titles in the types of companies that are going to be targets for you. See if they've posted any articles, and then connect with them on a real level. Please don't just let LinkedIn do I'd like to add you to my network status on network on LinkedIn. It really is about creating a relationship and figuring out what you have in common and whether or not they should allow that connection. Once that connection is allowed, you should be posting regularly on LinkedIn relevant content to your industry. So posting an article that you have read that resonates with you, posting a piece of content maybe that your team has created. Make sure it's not always about you. We talk about the 70-30 split. 70% of the time it's industry relevant and what's going on in your industry and with your customers, and 30% of the time it can be about you. But that initial LinkedIn connection actually allows you to build the relationship a bit more so that eventually you can move it over to something like Facebook or Twitter. So
you don't recommend sending an invite and then immediately when somebody accepts, you say, let me tell you what I can do to sell you.
No. I actually did a video about that.
Everybody's collective face. I wish I had a screenshot for that, because it was like just putrid. Go ahead.
I am the worst. I do not unsubscribe from emails ever. Like, I drive myself crazy. I open my Gmail account and there are hundreds of emails every day. I just go through and delete. I'm terrible about unsubscribing. If you send me a message like that, I will go disconnect with you immediately and block you. Like, that is my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah. And so many people do that. I'll piggyback on that. I also use Twitter more prevalently. You said you would connect on LinkedIn before Twitter. I would almost say the opposite if you can, because Twitter is more of an open environment, more of the wild, wild west of social media. Whereas Facebook, you typically have friends and family or people that you met or know. I'm very open. I have a lot of people from many different places in my life, but that's me. I'm an extreme on this end. But if you're on LinkedIn, you're more suspicious. Do I know you? Do we have mutual connections? Have we met before? On Twitter, it's more about gaining followers and joining in the conversation. So back in the day, if you had a problem, and I'll use like a commercial idea, like if you had a flight that you missed, you would fill out a form and customer stat issue, or you'd pick up the phone and you'd wait on hold for 2 hours. Now you just tweet at that company, 5,000 people jump on board, and they killed my puppy. Oh my gosh, they're bankrupt. Like, it is an explosive situation. It's not one-to-one, it's one-to-many. And you, as somebody who can save the day, can be listening to those ideas. Twitter, Reddit, another great place for people that are really not just polished and professional, but really candid. And I would even add Facebook groups to that now, because with the onset of COVID, you've seen Facebook become a lot more professional in those groups. And you don't have to friend somebody to be in the same group and talk to them. So there's 3 places that I feel outside of LinkedIn are really strong for hearing what is keeping your customers up at night, that old adage, and how you can help them. And then the other thing is you should be creating a list and following all of your prospects on Twitter. So that way you have content, or if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator or Google Alerts, and anytime they post something, you can marry that back to LinkedIn to have some meaningful conversation with them. Because we said most people are voyeurs or lazy likers. Not everyone's posting. So you might struggle to find something to connect with them on, and that might give you an opportunity to chat. And by the way, conferences such as this, leverage the hashtag, click on it and see what people are talking about, and jump in on that conversation as well. Yep. Then take that. I really enjoyed our chat. Thought we should connect on LinkedIn as well.
That's awesome. So it sounds
You're
like,
right. And I definitely, you're absolutely right. I would leverage Twitter in that way. I think for the one thing to be careful of on LinkedIn is not seeming like you're posting to that person too quickly. So folks have done that to me, and I'm sort of like, do you have a legitimate business if you have so much time to be on social all of the time? Right. It's also the same if you're talking about a company too often. People are like, we get it. You work for that company. It's okay. Like, you definitely want to mix in, I saw this interesting article on Inc. magazine that talks about trends for remote work or something like that is relevant to your audience, but not necessarily self-serving.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. And I would say
do you want to do so, but kind of to leverage on, to sort of fill in the gap here on this, and a question too. You're right about sounding like you have no life and you have no job if you're constantly on social, right? You're also sort of stalkerish if you don't know somebody from anywhere, back to like the LinkedIn aspect, right? So what would be your best course of action? Starting with who you know, circles who you know, meet their friends, get involved in that conversation. Obviously friends or acquaintances, business relations, whatever it is, but would that make most sense for you when you're trying to plot a course here for some people that don't use this? Shouldn't they start there first and say, hey, let me look at what I'm going after, and let me find those people that are associated that I already know today that are in this space or whatever?
Yeah, you asked a very poignant question earlier. You said, how do I find my customers, right? And I think that's probably the first place if you're not doing that already, you need to. It's not a peanut butter spread. You're not all things to all people. You need to be very strategic in who you're targeting. What is the industry? Is it healthcare? Is it, what is the sub industry? Are you looking at hospitals? Are you looking at mid-sized clinics? What is your, get very granular. How big is this company? Are they 1 to 50? Are they 50 to 100? Are they 500 or more? Who are the decision makers? Are they the CIO and the CTO? Or is it the office manager, right? And you have to be very clear. And we had this conversation. If you're looking at managed service providers, where do your customers spend their time? Are they on LinkedIn or are they on Facebook? Do they have a small business like a mom and pop shop and they have a Facebook page and that's your target? So you want to be circling where they are. But I think it's also really important that when you're connecting, you would want to start broad and vast and deep in the organization. So there's a stat for you that for every cloud decision that's made, there's one decision maker, but there's 8 people that help influence that decision, which says that they're not all the same people. So I work for JS Group. I started my career at Cisco. I was there for 13 years and I began in an engineering sales role. And in that time, you always ask for the C-level executive or the CIO or the CTO, but that person might not be the decision maker anymore. It might be the CMO, it might be the CRO, it might be the office manager. And there's a lot of gatekeepers when you're cold calling, and there's a lot of noise and clutter. So you want to differentiate yourself when you're targeting somebody, and you want to be very laser focused on who they are, where are they, and how do you connect. And you might want to start with getting some mutual connections at the bottom and working your way up so that you're more likely to get them to accept your friend request or a LinkedIn connection request.
Sure.
If you have mutual things in common. But again, if you have a conversation, like if you're in a group, which is another great example, and unfortunately, I feel LinkedIn groups are not what they were or could have been. They were great to some extent, but Facebook has really monopolized it for me. And for every 2,000 people on Twitter, and I think I maxed out, I'm in 50 groups, 4 people on average talk. So by default, if you're one of them, you're a thought leader, if anyone's reading it, and you won't know because most people are voyeurs. But you need to think about, are you posting in those groups? Are you commenting in those areas where they are as well? And then if you find each other there, I would even look at somebody's their wall, right? And see as you research. So here's a great example. I coached somebody and I said, do you have any funny stories or horror stories from anyone that you've connected with? And he said, well, I didn't make any sales yet, but I made a bromance. And I was like, tell me more. And he said, I saw this guy was a Bills fan. I'm a Bills fan. That's great. And then he says that he would have never posted about his children. And this is to Heather's point about that 70-30 mix. Because if all you're doing is sharing your company's information, snooze, I don't want to hear it. That's boring, right? So he went on to say, how can you guys, like he posted a video with his kids and they went camping and the internet went out and this campsite and he talked about disaster recovery. So he made this funny, quirky analogy based upon his children. This guy that he was prospecting, who also was a Bills fan, happens to have 2 kids the same age, thought the video was hysterical. They start talking. They talk every single day. And due to the COVID impact, their company's not going to have budget till 2021. But who do you think he's going to buy from when the time is right? The person that he has the relationship with, the person that he builds trust with, right? And that's a very important thing to consider.
Absolutely, and can be relatable also.
Absolutely.
And I think I would agree as far as LinkedIn, I used to use religiously. I think you posted the question on Facebook the one day about what percentages of you use. Facebook has become my domain now because most of the MSPs are on Facebook or on Reddit, which Ray, I'll probably bring him in for the last few minutes of this because Ray has a phenomenal following on Reddit. He was ahead of the game. And a funny thing about Ray is he doesn't think he's like marketing, but it's almost like an inbound marketing because he's pretty smart. Not really smart, but pretty smart. So it's like, we keep him humble.
Right.
But,
are you going to let him talk about you like this? I think you need to hop in.
Whoa, Heather, I'm running the show. Just, this is my session. Whoa. No, so don't worry, he'll get in. He don't care. He'll come.
Can I ask you one question that I saw? It came up earlier and Amy just asked a question. She said the one-by-one relationships are going to be time consuming. And I want to just answer that. I would agree with you there. But what I would say is that typically, let's go to traditional methods, if you're cold calling or sending a blanket email to 1,000 people, that doesn't work. The click to open rate's 15% now. It's a record low. Phone calls, it's challenging to get a hold of anyone that doesn't know you. So think about video. This came up earlier in the chat and we didn't talk about it yet, but I do weekly videos on social selling tips. On average, my videos get somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 views. So if you thought about how many calls, if I was calling a prospective client or influencer that I wanted to share those videos, I get people that I don't know reaching out to me, asking me to connect. I get people saying, hey, let's set up some time to chat. And I get a broadcast that's very deep and vast very quickly. And that's the, you want to do it one-on-one. You still want a relationship. That's important. But you can prioritize by also leaving these cookies or nuggets of information along the way through different mediums. Maybe it's posts and adding or hashtagging certain people and companies or solutions, or maybe it's actually just videoing yourself, talking about a pain point and telling people how you can help them, right?
Absolutely. So Heather, how do you quantify results like that? Because Michelle just mentioned 2,000 people. I mean, that's impressive.
I mean, I think it is very impressive. I think Michelle hit on the point earlier. It depends where your audience is. My audience tends not to be on Facebook, so I'm posting things on LinkedIn. I think it has to do with in looking at metrics, you want to think, thank God.
No, see, no, you no.
I mean, if you call me up, I'm going to come.
I didn't, no.
Bring it.
This is horrible. Thanks, Heather, for nothing. Anyway, go ahead, Heather. Finish your
call me up. I don't care if Sean calls me up. And I just want to clarify. Sean did call me smart in chat. So I took a screenshot. This is recorded. Kevin's going to put it up on YouTube.
You have what? 200 witnesses.
That's fine because Ray called me sexy in chat. I have that screenshot too.
Oh shit. Okay.
That's right. I'm posting that on social media. Everybody's going to see it, and I'm tagging Michelle and Heather because they got way more followers.
I think Michelle was saying something poignant here. I think we interrupted her. So I'm sorry.
Yes,
Michelle.
you did. Please. No, you're about to interrupt Heather.
Heather. All good.
Oh, I'm sorry, Heather. I apologize. Anybody but Sean.
No worries. We match. Look, I wore my pink for your purple. It's perfect.
Oh, I love that.
It's fuchsia.
It's hot pink.
Salmon. Moving on.
And my Siri just picked up.
Okay, so go on, Heather. Before Ray really interrupted.
Go away, Siri.
Go. We were talking about quantifying results.
I don't want people to get frustrated. Michelle has quite the audience. So 2,000 to 3,000 views is indicative of how many people she is already connected with. So for those of you who have a smaller audience, I still think it's incredibly worthwhile to ensure that you are putting yourself out there, that you are basically, I tell people to give away free consulting. Tell someone how to do what they would do if you engaged with them, because at the end of the day, that's not what they do. So we'll be talking to a large enterprise and say, if you're going to do this, whether you do it with us or you do it with somebody else, this is how you should do it. Inevitably, they call us back because they just don't have the bandwidth, don't have the resources or the know-how to do what we have done for 11 years over and over and over again.
Yes,
absolutely.
I would agree with that. And by the way, even if it's 50 people, how many hours would it take you to get 50 people to look at to call them and have one-on-one conversations with them, right? So the number is nominal. That's not important. And as you're strategic, and it's quality over quantity, right? So you want to make sure that you're curating a list of connections that are valuable to you. You need great connections. You need great content. One without the other is futile at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to Sean's point about
and
marketing,
Dave, I'm reading the chat too, by the way.
The competition is fierce. I love this. I came from the chat, so whatever. So, but the Reddit stuff, I always say I don't do marketing, but I agree 100%. It's about sharing the knowledge, answering other people's questions, giving that consultation. The business comes afterward. That's why I've always said it's not marketing I do on Reddit or Discord or Slack. It's having conversations with the right people, being the subject matter expert. And when they need you, they'll continue to need you, and eventually they'll buy from you. So I couldn't agree more with that.
100%. We've had clients come back to us after, maybe I connected with them 4 or 5 years ago somehow on social, and we just became connections of each other and shared each other's content. And 5 years later, when they were at their next job where they actually had budget, they called me right away. So it is never a loss. And to Michelle's point, how long does it really take? You do a 3-minute video and you post it. And I love, Michelle, the video that you posted, Michelle, that had your Augie doggy coming in and giving you kisses. Like, some people might say, oh, now I have to do it over. Like, that makes it that much more personable and fun and funny. I think, especially now that we're all
by the way?
Yeah.
I was going to ask. Where's Augie? Because I was looking
gotta
forward
get
to seeing
Augie and
Augie.
Zoe.
Eating something somewhere he shouldn't be, like one of the dolls. There's like all of like poor little missing limbs.
Something out of Toy Story.
And Dan had a great question, a point in the chat as well, I just read. And he said, even if it looks like you're not getting engagement, don't worry. And that's the other point, like kind of circling that back to what I said earlier. Most people are voyeurs. Most people are looking. That doesn't mean they're not consuming your content. That doesn't mean if they're not liking or commenting or engaging with you that they're not reading it. And so the average is that people read up to 5 pieces of content before they even want to speak to you. So keep delivering it. Don't get discouraged. Keep sharing that information that's valuable for them. And you will find every company is different, right? Not everyone has a large marketing company to help them, right? I mean, sometimes you're a small startup and you wear many hats, especially in the beginning. And so the most important thing to think about is just because they're not engaging with you doesn't mean that you're not still providing them value, to your point, right? And that they're trusting you. They're learning to trust you because you're becoming, in their mind, the thought leader or subject matter expert. And that is so much more valuable in the long run than anything else you can do in a short-term quick sale.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you saw, we're running some polls here. We haven't mentioned. Some people asked, are using TikTok for business? And there is no. What's TikTok? And yes. 11 votes. It seems like, well, it's about 8% that yes, and 8% don't even know what TikTok is. 83% do use it.
No, 83% do not.
Or do not use. I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
Yeah, that's a different number. So
yes, it changes everything. Yes.
No, but the reason I ask, so what prompted my interest in that is, as we were kind of joking around, but I think that's where the best conversations come from, is like Michelle's video. Michelle's video had Augie and it had personality in it, right? TikTok, you can show personality. LinkedIn, I think you're expected to be a little more professional. It doesn't have to be your style, but it's a little more expectation. Facebook, you can have a little more personality. TikTok, nobody's expecting professional, right? Yeah. So you can engage on a funny level if you wanted to.
Correct.
The question is your audience going to be there?
Right. Yeah. Or do you take your TikTok and put it somewhere that your audience is hanging out?
Yes,
right.
Like Michelle did with her Carol Baskin video.
Oh yeah,
that she put on Facebook.
TikTok. and by the way, mine are completely tongue-in-cheek funny. Like they are not meant for professional use, but that's because I'm going after B2B, depending on your audience. Again, it depends where you are. I know there's people that are influencers on TikTok that are, very popular, that do have professions that might be very powerful on those tools, so if you're an author or a blogger or something else, that might be something to just get your brand and have some fun, because especially during challenging times, it's so important that we're empathetic to everyone's situation. I think we've all been a little bit exhausted by the politics and polarization that's happening on social media these days, and it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, I look at social media as a way to connect us together with people that we know, we like, we have things in common with. And you find, I'll go to a conference, I share so much about my life that when I go, people know me. They're like, oh, I loved your trip and how are the kids? And I may not even know them that well, but I share very frequently, and it allows people to feel like we're very connected together. And that for me has been very beneficial in my career, and personally and professionally, because when I need help, or when I want to talk to somebody or ask somebody something, or reciprocally, we have a very strong network and a tribe of people willing to help each other. And I think that's the benefit, right? It's not just all about your prospects and customers, it's also about your influencers and your partners in this industry and how we can all help one another, right?
And I think that you guys have an excellent. I think the point here is engage your audience, right? It's not just promotional content. It's not just here's some PDFs with some information. The stats are very important. I mean, we saw from Chris this morning, the stats, and Jay also, the stats are super important, but also engagement, right? You guys are watching the chat as you're talking and you're engaging on 2 different levels here. That is so important, and not everybody does that. And the ones that do it get that much more benefit from it, both financially, personally, commercially. It's super important to do. Yeah. Like, figure out a way to do it. Those that do are going to succeed.
And Kevin mentioned something here, which is dead on, and it's something that we actually did internally here, is focus on where you're comfortable with in social too. I'll tell you right now, like Ray is on Reddit like nobody's business. Like I came aboard and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use Reddit too because he's having so much success. And I got on there and I was confused for like a month. I still see my therapist about it today. It's how bad it was, you know. So
that's not the only thing you're seeing your therapist about, John.
That's it's because of your harsh words, Heather. I'm getting
the first thing that comes back to me says Reddit is one word, and that was the beginning of the conversation. I was like, you know what? Go to Facebook. You're good on Facebook.
I'm good on Facebook. Exactly my point. So we work on various channels for it, and that's exactly the truth.
I also want to say that social is not the be all and end all. You know, we're talking about reaching a remote audience.
Sure.
There are so many things that you can do that don't necessarily involve social. I like social for prospecting. Michelle is the queen of interacting and outreach and keeping the relationship going. I right now am finding some of the more personal social, the Twitter and Facebook, super, and Instagram, super stressful for me right now. And that's not all the time. That's like the last 3 months in the midst of COVID and politics and all of that. So I actually have signed off until I was promoting this all this week. I've signed off Facebook for a little bit. Like I just need a Facebook break. And I think as a business owner and a mom of 2 young kids, it's fine to take that break if that's not what's working for you. One thing that has been working for me a ton, so we cultivate our list on LinkedIn. We use something called HubSpot, which is a CRM tool, or any CRM tool or anything that makes sense for you, and have put together a series of sequences. So within a sequence is a sequence, exactly what it sounds like, a sequence of emails that go out to prospects at a set time. So we put, copy in one email with a couple of hyperlinks with great content that people can check out. Yes, most of the time that great content is video. Sometimes it's a video of me speaking to them directly. And then it goes out, email 1 goes out on a Tuesday, email 2 goes out the following Wednesday, email 3 goes out the Monday after that. And we're really just trying to solve people's pain points throughout that communication. That said, social is definitely something you should start to build a habit around. And that's one thing people say to me, I just don't have time to do that. Well, if you're cold calling, maybe you can separate your time out differently. Think about your time like a pie chart and just slice a piece of that off for social instead of that outbound. A lot of partners that we talk to have been saying, we just don't have, we're so busy right now. And especially in the midst of a pandemic, people are remote. That isn't how their business was run before. We're changing things on a day-to-day basis. My concern is that where's the business going to be in 3 months when we all realize that this is how work is, this is how life is. And we are home or we are in offices. I know Kevin goes into the office and no one else is there. And it's important that you as MSPs realize, okay, my customers are all going to be set up and have what they need. What's the next logical thing that they're going to be talking about or thinking about? So,
great points. And I would piggyback on that and say that, I agree with the feeling that most people are kind of checking out through social right now. And I am a firm believer. I will stay on. I'll snooze people I don't want to hear or just force myself not to get triggered because I like to be like Barbara Walters and objective in the situations and kind and respectful because everybody comes with their own diversity of thought. And just because we think differently doesn't make somebody right or wrong. I have my strong leanings. I feel the way I feel, but I won't disqualify anybody else's opinions. Keeping in mind, I've seen a lot of things that probably shouldn't be said on social because your customers might have differing viewpoints. And that's the problem when you start engaging deep in a level that might rub somebody the wrong way. So in that regard, that content scheduling is great tool for people who are busy or just don't have a lot of time to do that. Get your algorithm going so you still look at your posting and use that scheduler. But again, if you wouldn't not respond to an email or voicemail, you probably shouldn't not respond on social because your digital brand is just as important as your in-person brand. And if you're not responding or listening or replying, for me, that's very important. You know, I check my social every day because if somebody reached out to me, I want to connect back with them, right? And then finally, in terms of marketing automation, great points with HubSpot and CRMs in general. And also, let's go back to basics a little. I saw this great cartoon, actually, not too long ago, and it showed somebody who had all this mail in their hands, and then they were upset. They were like so excited when they got an email. And now we're the opposite. Now we're like, ugh, all these emails. And then you get something in the mail. You're like, oh, wow, look, it's a letter. You know, how often do we handwrite letters or deliver some guerrilla marketing to our prospects or clients and get them the package? It might be a bit harder if you're in the Florida epicenter like me and you're still very remote to know their home address. But there are companies like Sugar Wish and Thanks and other companies that you can send somebody a little something for a nominal fee just to let them know you're thinking about them. And that is such a thoughtful thing. You see that they have an anniversary or something, birthday, and you want to recognize them. That is a great way to share something with somebody. We're actually talking about doing a great opportunity. We're partnering with Star to Star and doing a Tech World's Half webinar, and they want to do a mimosa brunch. So they're going to have 5 participants winning a cocktail set that you can get, and you can use the ingredients and make your own mimosas. And I just think things like that, thinking out of the box and having really creative, unique ideas on how to be impactful and resonate with the people you're trying to connect with are so important right now, especially with all the noise and clutter. The whole goal is that you want to connect with people. There's millions of people online. None of them want to be sold to. How do you build those relationships?
So
100%.
So safe to say that connection to people, prospecting to people isn't just social, isn't just email, isn't just snail mail, it's everything, all of the above, right? I think we all agree on that.
Absolutely. And to
especially
Kevin's
with
point,
the physical aspect too. Go ahead.
Kevin made a comment about HIPAA. One thing to note, I just want to make sure people know first sequences, you choose 5 to 10 people at a time and you're customizing those emails. So it feels like a one-off email. It is not at all just a mass email that's going out through a marketing automation tool.
Loop, you said.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get the attention you're looking for if they feel it's an automated thing. That's the trick, right? Make it personalized, but it should be automated. And there's ways to do that, and you get better and better the more you do it. But if anybody gets a form mail in their email, they're going to ignore it. It's just, they're not going to pay attention.
And here's another point also, when you move the conversation further along and you go from conversations to, the point where you're actually going to talk to them either via phone or UC platform of your choice, insert here, I would opt to always do a video conference and turn your camera on. I mean, honestly, Ray, your office is amazing. First of all, like, I love it, but it's a conversation starter. And, of course, Sean, I love your painting, did a great job there. Heather, we all have our bit of, I painted my office as well. You want to let your personality show, right? So this is a great point when Heather said earlier, you're letting people into your homes and your lives, your pets, your children. And one of the best videos, one of the most viral posts that I had was Jay was doing a conference, my husband, who was on the program earlier. He's an analyst at Forrester. And he had one of our daughters, who's 6 years old, walk into his office dressed in a full Cinderella outfit. And, back in the day, you saw that news anchor from BBC where he strong arms, the wife comes rushing in and they swoop the kid out. And it was like, oh God forbid you're a professional and a parent, don't by all means let anyone know that you're just more than one person. You're not just your title. You're a complete human being, and you should allow people to feel, get to know you and feel comfort in that in some ways. So don't wear, a tuxedo if you're a polo person, right? Be it true to who you are. And when my daughter walked in, he picked her up and he put her on his lap and he just kept talking. And the quote was, I guess we're really living in a new normal. And I screenshotted that and it went viral because thousands of people related to that. It wasn't all the cybersecurity or cloud communications or social selling or anything else that we talk about. It's the human to human connection that we share that allows people to feel that there's something more that we can listen and learn from each other. So I would say just let people in.
Absolutely. Within reason, maybe too, because I don't want somebody climb up a tree, peek in my window. They want my shorts. Everybody wants these shorts. So
to touch on that, because Amy mentioned in the chat, backgrounds being important. That was a big conversation when I started working from home. What I wanted in the frame, what I didn't want in the frame. Was it going to be all professional stuff? And I think in the beginning we all wanted green screens and professional virtual backgrounds, and now it's more about personality. The one caveat to that, and I'll take out my magic Swiffer here. The one caveat to that, anybody who's seen me on video knows this. The one caveat to that is when you have your background, show your personality, show your stuff. Absolutely, make sure it's clean, make sure it's organized. The framing absolutely makes sense. You don't need to see all my boxes from Snowem and my personal bar, even though I'm not going to fault you for showing your bar. The idea is that you want to have, I'm really good at that. The idea is that, you want to have a nice, clean appearance on your video. Now, it's not that hard to do, Right. And if you need a Swiffer, I'll send you one. So.
Great point. And be mindful if you have confidential information in the background. Some people have whiteboards or something like that. You don't want to be giving away all your secrets. So just look at yourself in the camera and put yourself in their perspective to see how they're viewing you, because their impressions will matter as well.
Absolutely. I think, and actually to this whole framing thing, Ray and I both have made office changes in the last 3 months, like most of us, but like legitimate, like full blown, like his office was his daughter's bedroom. She moved out to her own apartment. Now it's his office. I think she wants the room back.
Now it looks nice, right?
Yeah, right. I work in my foyer of my house. Or foyer, whatever you want to call it. I just redid this, and if you look at my videos I posted for the conference, you can see before I had a separate carpet here with paint on the floor because I've been renovating this room just so I can have an office, because this was like my staging area, and it looked bad. I would have been like a contractor maybe or something from the way it looked. So yeah, absolutely, you got to pay attention to it, because just like we show up for our job interview in your suits. Go.
We need Heather and Michelle on these videos more often, on all our sales calls, because Sean is never in a jacket on video. Ever. Okay, he wears a nice shirt. Oh, he's a handsome dude.
I think this is a one-time thing.
I'm just gonna relax.
And there you go.
And the other thing I wanted to add though about video, so the way that I do my video, you don't have to even be that specific about it. A lot of us are still at home. It could be as simple as leveraging your iPhone or your Android, whatever you have handy, going right to the LinkedIn app or recording it right to your camera roll, and just being mindful. And I'll show this for you guys at home. Lighting matters. If you turn this off, it's very challenging to see me. So you want to be sure that you have good lighting, that outdoor lighting is great as well, because the natural light is perfect. If anyone takes photography or videos, you know that. And so you want to be very candid. So I would just write a little script, and you don't follow it. It's not cliff notes. You're not going to be reading it like cards, but you want to just frame out what you want to say and record it, and be mindful. If you don't want those black bars on the side, hold your phone wide ways versus long ways. If you're doing it in LinkedIn, that doesn't matter. But I post on multiple platforms. And the reason I do that is I have personal and professional people in multiple places. So those people, I'll be very candid. I've made 3 sales in 1 week based on 3 different platforms of people who saw my video. And I wasn't reaching out to them. I wasn't thinking of them when I posted it, but they saw it. They resonated with the pain point I shared with them, and they thought, oh, wow, can we set up more time to chat and learn more? And, that could have been on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever your clients are, you really don't know. And if people share your video, the most important thing about that is that I have my ecosystem, and I have a pretty good amount of connections that I've made over time through my work at CompTIA's Advancing Women Technology. I share that community for many years. I sat on the board of CRN's Women in the Channel. So I have a very large ecosystem, but I don't have everybody in my network. And if somebody shares my video goes to their network. And that most powerful thing there is that I just keep casting a broader net. And so it's very good if you have content that's not just almost self-driven, like company-driven, but something that is shareable, because it will allow your personal brand to be known as you represent your company by default, right?
Absolutely. And actually, I'll give him accolades here. Somebody does a really good job is Ray on that. on social in general. He argued the point that he's not marketing. He is marketing. He's not marketing. He's really not marketing everybody. However, he always is on point on social. Reddit is his baby. He responds to every single person with information that makes sense. He doesn't get himself involved in unnecessary conversations. They're always something pointed towards helping people, and it's sort of his mantra, maybe.
I don't speak just to speak. I mean, it has to be to the point of helping somebody or adding something to the conversation. That's the difference between sales and engagement, right? If you're just putting, my company's awesome, or you're just trying to interject yourself in something, nobody's going to care. If you're trying to add to the conversation, be engaging, add to the value of it, that's a whole different conversation. I will add one more thing to Michelle, and I'd be cognizant we got 5 minutes left, so I'll shut up in a minute. But when you make your videos, be smart about it. Watch your video afterward. We all hate hearing ourselves. We all hate watching ourselves. But you're going to see some little things. It was mentioned in chat. You hear the oohs and the ahs and the ums. You can only be cognizant of that if you watch your own videos. Watch them before you post, because you never know what you miss. If you're a heavy breather like me, I mute myself when I'm not talking. Just, you start to learn those things from watching yourself. And to Michelle's point, these little wands or whatever with your cell phone, your phones are your best tools for recording. You don't have to have a $5,000 recording studio like I am, like a madman. Just light it properly, get a good camera. Your cell phone is a good camera, get good audio, and you're good. So with that, I'll shut up now.
You could buy those things nominally for $20, $30 on Amazon, right? 2-day Prime, you'll have it tomorrow. Get started.
Yes. $12 actually.
Oh, bargain.
On Prime next day.
Put the link in the window so our audience can.
Good idea. I actually put a file of a picture I took while we were talking. You might want to look at it. It's really good. If you click on files, the top right below the sponsor, just letting you know it's there. I looked at the camera. I followed.
I'm going to take away those rights from you, Sean.
Of course.
I love how we all look awful and Sean looks great.
Right.
I mean,
his timing is perfect for that.
I dressed up for the occasion.
You want to get closing comments since we're 3 minutes at the mark?
So yeah, especially from you both, not from Ray. He said he talks enough. Yes, a couple quick takeaways that you would say for somebody to get started. We can start with you, Michelle. Just 2 or 3 quick bullets of what they should do to get started to give them some sort of direction.
Yeah, so I would say the most important thing that you can do to be successful in your journey is pause and rethink about 2 things. One, if your mission was originally before COVID and before everything what we did was, about making sales and obviously we want to make sales. That's a byproduct of what's going to happen. But you want to rethink your phrasing, how you're marketing your content, how you're talking to your clients, because what's important to you or what's important to them 6 months ago is not necessarily what's important to them now. So just be mindful of how you market your brand, both personally and from your company, but also rethink what your company's or your clients' objectives might be, because they've probably shifted over the last 6 months as well. And what they need, are you listening and learning and connecting with them? So I would just take a real strong viewpoint of the most important thing of any sale is understanding your customers. And if you can figure out where they are, figure out how they like to engage, what podcasts are they listening to, what books are they reading, what magazines are they belonging to, which social platforms. Connect with them, understand, listen, and learn from them, and just start that journey together.
Awesome. Heather.
I mean, I think Michelle covered it, right? You need to connect with your current customers and then prospects wherever they are most comfortable in hanging out. And then make sure that your content resonates with them. Like, is it going to help drive their journey forward?
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you, ladies. Ray, I guess, thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Appreciate it.
This was very informative.
Qualified, intelligent, insightful speech on this panel. I appreciate you guys. And Sean.
Likewise. Thank you. And if anyone wants to connect on social, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're happy to help.
Absolutely. Thank you again, without Ray interrupting me. If anybody needs anything else, by all means, I think we're doing the closing remarks in 1 minute. You guys should just be along for the ride. You can even come in and say goodbye if you want. Doesn't matter. We're pretty free about this. But yes, we'll see you all in a minute here. Thank you, ladies. Talk all soon. Ciao.
Thank you.